Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective. In this video I will be reviewing this past week in WWE and AEW. So first up we got Monday Night Raw, where it started off with a Judgment Day segment where Priest, Dominic and Rhea Ripley were just addressing the audience and addressing Finn Balor. Priest kind of lost his cool over Balor not being out there with them. Jimmy Donna interrupted and sent a message from Balor telling him to kind of keep an eye on their targets, such as Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes. Kind of Rhea and McDonough went back and forth for a little bit until Sami Zayn interrupted. This then made its way into a match where Sami Zayn defeated JD McDonough. This was actually a pretty good match to kick off Monday Night Raw. I very much enjoyed it. I think both have really good chemistry. I'm a big fan of JD McDonough, and as a big fan of the Judgment Day, I'm very happy with the fact that he could be joining up with them. Though I feel like it's going to be at the expense of Damian Priest. The Priest will leave and McDonough will come in. In my opinion, in my ideal way, I'd probably have Lyra Valkyria come up and join the Judgment Day, and I'd have JD McDonough join the Judgment Day, making it a bigger force and controlling NXT and WWE a lot more. But it does seem like Priest is going to end up leaving the group, especially if he cashes in Money in the Bank, and Balor, as we know, wants that world title as well. It's not something that I'm really looking forward to happening because I'm such a big fan of the Judgment Day. But at the same time, it'll be a good idea, and it gets JD on telly a lot more, which is something I'm very much for. I do enjoy his matches a lot, especially when he was in NXT and NXT UK. As for Sami Zayn, if he's having to be sidelined because of the elbow injury, then that leaves us with no tag team champions again. But it doesn't seem like they're going to strip him of the titles or have them lose them either. They're just going to keep him through Owens and Zayn's injuries, which is annoying because it just seems once again like WWE do not care about tag team wrestling at all. And it's a shame in a way, because some of the teams they've got on the show, such as the New Day, Imperium, Alpha Academy, they could be elevating them tag team championships, but instead they're not even on TV. Sami Zayn came to the ring and he wasn't wearing his tag team titles, so I don't know, it's not something I'm enjoying at the minute. I haven't enjoyed Sami and Kevin as tag champions, which I've said on the channel before, but yeah, something definitely needs to happen with these tag team championships, because at the minute they're not being featured at all on TV. Following that, we had Chad Gable defeating Giovanni Vinci. There was a promo from Imperium before the match, but it was pretty standard stuff, saying that Gunther's going to retain, how dominant they've been, and everything about the reign so far. But the match between Gable and Vinci was really, really good. It was probably one of my favourite matches of the week. They were doing great transitional wrestling, and just in general they were both absolutely brilliant. I didn't expect the match to be as good as it was, so it was a really nice surprise. And obviously Chad Gable is definitely going to give Gunther a run for his money next week on Monday Night Raw. This match was then followed quickly by Gunther defeating Otis. This was a really hard-hitting affair. Gunther definitely getting the chops in on Otis, but Otis also getting his own licks in on Gunther. It was quite a slow match as well. It was like slow in pace, but it was over quite quickly. I don't know whether that makes sense or not. Hopefully it does. But I think overall the feud between Imperium and Alpha Academy has been really good, and I'm hoping it doesn't come to an end after Chad Gable gets his title match against Gunther. Following that, I didn't get everything from Raw because it's a 3-hour show, so I've kind of picked out the highlights in my opinion. After that, we had Rhea Ripley defeating Indy Hartwell in a pretty straightforward match for Rhea. Indy didn't get much offense in, if any. And if anyone has actually seen Johnny Gargano, please, inform Ciampa, all the authorities, because I don't understand why they're not using him at all, especially when they need tag teams. If they're gonna do anything with tag team championships, having DIY back together would be awesome. I know there was talks of having Owens and Zayn against DIY at SummerSlam, and that just didn't happen. But anyway, less about them. Rhea again getting a good match in. I mean, she's been really dominant. If I had to guess, she's probably going to face Candice next week on Raw as well, and then it'll probably return back to Raquel Rodriguez again. But as I said, pretty straightforward win for Rhea. but good to see Indy and Candice on TV again, as they've been missing for so long. After that, we had Shinsuke Nakamura and Seth Rollins segment. Pretty standard segment, really. Nakamura wants the world title. Rollins just wanted him to ask instead of attacking him. Nakamura whispered something to Rollins and then cheap shotted him. I'm not going to try and speculate what Nakamura said. I have no idea. I've seen a lot of funny memes about it online though. But yeah, I mean, the match should be really good if they're going to do it at Payback, which seems to be the way they're going. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Not really much else to say on that one. I have a lot to say about this one though. Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus went to a double count out. I thought this was terrible booking. I think if they're going to have the match, let's just finish it. I know that we're going to get a steel cage match at some point. They haven't announced it for Raw, so I assume it might be at Payback. But I just don't understand why they put this on the show. This could have main evented Raw if it had been any good, if it had been the blow off to the feud. But having a double count out and then them just be attacked backstage and then one chick kick took out Becky Lynch, which I know it's Trish's finisher, but it just doesn't seem believable just because of how resilient Becky usually is. But yeah, having the double count out, it was just, you may as well have just not had the match. You may as well have just had a backstage segment or had them brawl out of nowhere like they normally do. There was no point in setting up this big match, and to be fair, they barely promoted it because I actually forgot it was on the show. So yeah, I found that quite funny how it just suddenly happened, and I was like, oh shit, of course it's on, of course this is the next match. But yeah, it was just terrible booking, and this whole feud has been quite good until the end, where it kind of has felt like it's been left by the wayside, and they're now rushing to get it done, probably because Trish doesn't want to be travelling on the road every week. And yeah, finally in the main event, we had Cody Rhodes defeat Finn Balor. This was a decent match. It was very action-packed. Judgment Day seemed to be on the same page until they did this ridiculous briefcase thing where like it kind of looked like Balor has no eye to briefcase coordination, because he rolled the briefcase to him at a pretty like usual speed, if you will, and it just went straight under his legs into Cody. It could be easily memeable, and it looked ridiculous. It made them both look so stupid. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny, and I don't like the way they're booking the Judgment Day. It doesn't need to be cracks. We're already doing this on SmackDown with the Bloodline. Why are we doing this as well on Raw? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, Cody Rhodes gets a win on this one, which builds, again, his momentum getting back into the main event scene. Though it seems like he's not going to be on Payback, if you were to ask me, or maybe he'll face Priest. I'm not sure. But yeah, after the match, the Judgment Day, with the help of JD McDonough, stood tall. And again, it's like, oh, are they on the same page? Are they not on the same page? I don't know. They can't seem to make their minds up at the minute. But, overall, Raw was alright. It wasn't the best show. The standout by far was the Chad Gable and Giovanni Vinci match. That was probably, that is probably the best part of the show for me. But yeah, I'm hoping for a better episode next week. And if we're going to do the Judgment Day stuff, like, I know they're like all over the show at the minute, but we need some kind of clear, are they going to break up, are they not, because they're on the poster for Payback, so clearly they're going to stay together until then. But I just don't see the point in having them almost break up and then get back together because they're fine. Or are they going to add JD McDonough? But maybe they're not. I don't know. I think for me, it's just add JD McDonough in, and then let's just go from there and dominate Raw. Like, let's not mess about as much, especially as like they have to show to be in a unit on NXT the night afterwards. I don't know. It's very confusing when it doesn't seem like the bookers can make their mind up on whether they're going to break them up or not. AEW Dynamite kicked off with Orange Cassidy defeating Wheeler Yuta to retain the International Championship. This was a good match, but I expected a great match. I don't know whether my standards have now risen because of how good some Orange Cassidy international defenses have been, especially when he first started the reign. I don't know, because he's so hurt, and they do mention every week how hurt he is, whether he's kind of slowing down a bit or being a bit more safer. But I don't know, I expected a lot more out of this one. But overall, it went how I expected, with Orange Cassidy retaining. been a good match, but it just wasn't as good as I thought it could be. But everything for this one happened after the match, when the BCC attacked Orange Cassidy, and then Best Friends came out to make the save, and then Eddie Kingston returned, which was awesome. It's great to see Eddie back. I know he didn't do as well in the G1 as he wanted, but I think it was a pretty good showing from him anyway. And yeah, it then set up a huge match for All In with Best Friends, Eddie Kingston, Lucha Bros and Orange Cassidy taking on the BCC and whoever they can get to help them in a stadium stampede match. Now, as someone who's going to be there, I am well excited for this. It's going to be a very interesting watch from being there, just because there's so much to watch. I know that from where I'm sat, it's going to be a lot of watching the screen, which I honestly don't mind, but you know, just being in that environment and that atmosphere is going to be awesome, and I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm hoping for a very, very bloody affair, which shouldn't be much to ask from Moxley and Kingston. After that, Kenny Omega had a sit-down interview with Jim Ross, where he was supposed to talk about what he was going to do at All In, and then he didn't do that. He only talked about Don Callis, and then Callis interrupted, and Omega was attacked by Bullet Club Gold and Takeshita. Later on in the night, we had a video from Hangman, who was outside of a hospital, where it was confirmed that Hangman, Omega and Ibushi are going to take on Takeshita and Bullet Club Gold in Jay White and Juice Robinson at All In. I'm fully up for that. It's going to be a really good match. It'll be interesting to see Omega and Jay White's first interaction in AEW, as I know they put on some great matches in New Japan. And yeah, I think it'll be a really fun 6-man tag. And following that, we had Chris Jericho making his decision on whether he was going to join the Don Callis family. The segment opened up with like Don Callis in the ring, and then it was like had a big picture next to him, and then he brought out Chris Jericho. And honestly, I cannot wait to see Judas at All In. It's one of the things I'm very much looking forward to on the show. But yeah, Chris Jericho says yeah, he'll join, which Don Callis couldn't believe. I would assume that Don Callis was going to assume that he would have said yes, but that wasn't the case, because when they uncovered the picture, it was this painting of Callis with a decapitated Jericho, which I actually found quite funny. It was like, you thought Chris Jericho saying, like, you thought I was going to say no, so you were going to assassinate me. I actually found quite funny in a way. And then after that, we had Takeshita attack Jericho. Jericho got the upper hand, and then Will Ospreay appeared, and he took out Jericho, setting up the match between Chris Jericho and Will Ospreay at All In. And again, buzzing for that. I cannot wait to see Will Ospreay and Chris Jericho live. It's going to be a fantastic match, and I cannot wait to watch and experience it live. And yeah, following that, we had Darby Allin and Nick Wayne defeat the Gates of Agony. It wasn't a great match, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't enjoy it that much. It was very quick, especially for a tag team match. But I do want to talk about the Gates of Agony. Like, I haven't properly watched their matches before, and you know, they have the look of being a top tag team. Like, you know, they look not amazing. Like, they look like they could be a real force, and especially if they've got Brian Cage with them as well. Like, I don't get how they're not being booked higher up the card, because honestly, they look like they could be an absolute force in AEW, but they're not because of booking and stuff. And yeah, after the match, we saw that Sting had kidnapped Prince Nana, and we got like a little preview of Joker Sting. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I loved Joker Sting. I often go back and watch some Joker Sting stuff, and it's like a 20-minute long video of all the stuff that he did in Impact or TNA as Joker Sting. I think it's hilarious, and yeah, it was probably one of my favourite times watching Sting. I'm fully up for him turning up at All In. So yeah, I said match weren't that good, but the stuff with Sting afterwards was really funny, and then probably the most enjoyable part of the show, like of this segment. Following that, we had Adam Cole and MJF do their promos in the ring for their main event match. It was okay. Aussie Open attacked and they got the upper hand pretty quickly, and then we saw like Adam Cole teased a turn and then didn't, and I don't know, it puts into flux who is actually going to turn. For me, I feel like Adam Cole's going to turn on MJF, and I think I've said this in a review video of I think it was... No, I said it in the last video, sorry, where I feel like Adam Cole is going to turn on MJF, but continue to be a face. And then MJF is going to learn not to trust anybody ever again, which will turn him back into the absolutely brilliant heel that he is. Whether it'll happen at All In, I'm unsure. I don't think they will. I think they're going to carry it on. I think they'll win the tag titles off Aussie Open, go on a run with them for a little bit, and maybe come Full Gear, we'll have a turn and have a really good match, and maybe even put a no DQ stipulation on it so they can absolutely beat the crap out of each other. Oh, God, okay. Following that, we had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match where Jeff Jarrett defeated Jeff Hardy. I didn't know what to say after this. This was incredibly awful and good and funny and WTF, you know? Like, none of it made sense. I know they've got advertising for the video game, but why Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy, of all the people? Like, I know they've got history and Impact and stuff like that, but this was a mess from start to finish. And then they had the actual, like, they had Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy, I don't know whether they had, oh, Leatherface, that's the one, I'm trying to think of his name then. I don't like horror films, so you'll have to forgive my lack of knowledge. But yeah, he came down and he chased away Karen Jarrett. I'm not gonna lie, I hope he killed her, because I hate Karen Jarrett with an absolute burning passion. And yeah, and then Jarrett got the win through cheating and he won this ugly ass belt. And yeah, it was, as I said, it was a massive mess, but really funny to watch, like, in the moment. And yeah, if it was all for just a bit of fun, then you know what, they killed it. But this was so random and thrown in. But yeah, following that, we had Britt Baker face the Bunny and defeat the Bunny even to qualify for the Fatal 4-Way All In. This was a bang average match in my opinion. I don't really have much praise for the Bunny. Whenever I watch her matches, I don't find them very good, and this was just another case of that. I know how good Britt Baker can be, and I was hoping she was going to bring the best out of the Bunny, but it just wasn't the case. As I said, for me, it wasn't as one-sided as I thought. It was weird seeing Britt Baker being outnumbered for once. I know that she's been facing the Outcasts more recently, but she's had Hater and Reba Rebel. Either way, she's had them by her side at the same time, whereas this one she was all alone and against like a massive group of people. Or, well, it wasn't. To start with, they came out a massive group, but it was just Penelope Ford, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I miss Jamie Hayter a lot, and I feel like this whole women's division has been thrown into a flux because Jamie isn't cleared to compete, and I can't wait for her to come back. Part of me in the back of my head is thinking they might have a return at the end, like at the end of the women's match at All In, to a massive pop. But I have no idea whether she's cleared or not to be able to do that. I haven't heard anything in the news recently that she is or isn't cleared. So that's a shame, but you know, the Fatal 4-Way is going to be really good. You know, Saraya we know is good, same with Tony, same with Shida, same with Britt Baker. So I'm hoping for a really action-packed match. I think it's going to be a dark horse to be match of the night, even though there's a lot of matches that could be match of the night on this card. But yes, the match was pretty bang average overall, but I'm glad that Baker got the win. After that, we were supposed to have an Acclaimed match, and then before the opponent, I think we saw their opponents, and then they suddenly disappeared because all the lights went out, and House of Black appeared, and they attacked the Acclaimed. And for me, I am more excited about this because they might be on the All In card, and I'm not going to lie, I've been watching every night, checking what time it goes dark to see if their entrance will work at All In, and I've noticed it started getting dark earlier again. I'm hoping at about 9 o'clock ish it'll start getting really dark and they can probably pull off the entrance, or if Wembley does have a roof they can put on, it might work, but I'm not 100% sure. But either way, I would love to see the House of Black. They are one of my favourite things about AEW, and if they're on the card I will be very, very happy. And finally, in the main event, the Young Bucks defeated the Guns. And for this one, I thought it was actually a really quality match. I forget how good the Guns are. Like, I just associate them with hating them so much that they just aren't that good. And they are fantastic. And obviously, we all know that the Young Bucks are amazing. So it was just a hell of a lot better than I thought it was going to be just because my mindset went down because it was the Guns, when really it should have just been at a higher level. Because I truly do forget how good the Guns are. And yeah, I know, it's weird that these two teams have never actually faced 2-on-2 before. You'd assume that they did when the Guns first came in, when they were alongside Billy. But no, first time match, and they had great chemistry for a first time match as well. And yeah, just really enjoyable. After the match, the Guns attacked the Bucks with the help of Jay White and Juice Robinson, obviously Bullet Club Gold, of which FTR then made the save, and they had a stare down to end the night. Yeah, again, it was like the Bullet Club Gold were everywhere for this one, and they seem to really be targeting the Elite. So whether we have some kind of Bullet Club versus Elite thing go on here, whether people will enjoy that, I have no idea. I know some people will be very against it, but I would quite enjoy it as someone who's not seen Jay White and Kenny Omega go at it one-on-one, as I've not seen the New Japan matches. I just know they were good through other people saying that they are. And yeah, just a case of it gives the Elite a feud outside of championships, which is always an advantage, as they always feel, as for a while it felt like they were only in championship stuff. So, but yeah, I thought it was a really good way to end Dynamite, a real quality match, and FTR and the Young Bucks facing off at the end was really good. So yeah, I'd say Dynamite was a quality show, probably nowhere near as good as last week, but it was okay overall. SmackDown this week kicks off with the Grayson Waller effect with his special guests, Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. This was an alright segment. I was happy that there was no issues within the LWO that Mysterio took Escobar's match and won, especially as we have two storylines going on where a group are splitting up / having issues with the Bloodline and Judgment Day. It is a shame though that Santos Escobar is actually injured. I was hoping it was going to be a work and it was just going to be a case of me getting mad about Rey Mysterio taking the place of somebody who's not actually injured. But he is actually injured, so that's really annoying and sad to see, as I assume that Escobar would have been the one to take the title from Theory if that hadn't have been the case. Though LA Knight would have been a nice replacement instead. As Rey Mysterio doesn't need the US title. I'm not getting into this again, I moaned enough about it last week. But yeah, Austin Theory interrupted this and wanted his title back, and then LA Knight interrupted Theory, which then set up a match for the number one contendership for the US Championship. This match would go on straight afterwards. One thing I did like about this SmackDown episode is the fact that it was very wrestling orientated. There was a lot of wrestling and not a lot of segments. But yeah, we get straight into Austin Theory defeating LA Knight. This could have been a really quality match, but as soon as The Miz came out to do commentary, I knew that there was going to be some kind of shenanigans against LA Knight, and to the shock and awe of everybody, that was exactly what happened. So yeah, Austin Theory is the new number one contender for the US title. I'm hoping that they do that on a SmackDown so that LA Knight can face the US champion at Payback. I've got a feeling that won't be the case, and that LA Knight will probably face The Miz either on Raw or on Payback. It's hard to say now who is actually going to make the pay-per-view and who isn't, but LA Knight should definitely be making pay-per-view because of how over he is. But yeah, they say this could have been really good. It could have been a really good match to show off Theory's skills again and kind of reset him as a top heel who puts on good matches. But yeah, that didn't happen because The Miz got involved. There was a portion of the match that literally happened in front of the commentary desk where I was just sat waiting for Theory to be thrown into Miz, and then that actually happened. So nothing really shocking happened here, other than the fact that we get Rey Mysterio and Theory again for the US title, and Rey Mysterio will probably retain again because he likes to squash younger talent. Following that, we had Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair defeat Io Sky and Bayley of Damage Control. This was a bit of an out of nowhere tag team, having Charlotte Flair and Bianca tag up, even though last week it was Asuka and Flair that got attacked by Damage Control. It's Belair and Flair tagging up now. It was a bit confusing, I didn't understand it. Also, is Charlotte Flair babyface? Because Bianca seemed really happy to tag with Flair, saying that he had her in a match at SummerSlam about 2 weeks ago. But also Charlotte Flair was happy to tag with Bianca, even though Bianca cost her the match because she got cashed in on, and she got her out of the figure 8, which would have won her the match. I don't know. It made no sense at all. And for me, as soon as they got the win, I was like, oh, I can see some tag titles coming their way, just because it's so typical of WWE to put two women together and then have them be women's tag champions, especially with it being Charlotte. We all remember her tag team with Asuka, which now makes no sense. And they didn't make any sense at the time either. But either way, I don't know. It was clear to me that Bianca wasn't actually hurt after SummerSlam, which kind of takes away from that moment, as it would have been a good chance to get Bianca Belair off TV. But then she's back 2 weeks later. But then, after this match in the backstage segment, Belair got attacked by Damage Control with chairs, and they took out her knee, so maybe she's now going to be written off. Either way, I'm just asking for Belair to be written off TV, because she needs a reset and she needs a new character. I'm not saying that she needs to cut the braid off, but it would be a start to show her more. I know it's like a similar thing to what Bayley did in 2019, but if she can cut the braid off and be a lot more serious and be more of a heel, that would be great. I know that Bayley did exactly the same thing when she got rid of the Bayley buddies and she cut her hair and all this other stuff, but it would be a great reset and a fresh take on Bianca Belair, and I think the heel persona probably fits her a lot better than the face one, but that might be my bias because I'm so sick of her as a face and just the whole good guy shtick she does every week. But yeah, if she's now been written off TV, then I'm actually quite happy with that, because I'm a bit sick of Bianca Belair being around all the time. Following that, we had the Street Profits have their kind of first match since turning heel against the OC. This was quite a quick match for a tag match. Last week I questioned the booking of AJ Styles in WWE. I also questioned the booking of the OC, as you know, Gallows and Anderson are probably one of the best tag teams in the world, or at least they were before they joined WWE, and now they're booked to lose almost every time they have a tag match unless it's against Hit Row. You know, Hit Row would have been the perfect tag team to put in here, but because they're also a heel, it would have made no sense to have the Profits face them as also a heel team. But then are Profits a heel team? Because, you know, Montez was still doing his high flying moves, and after the Profits got the win, they went to the top of the ramp, and Bobby Lashley came out and he was massive smiles, and doing the fist pumping into the air along to his theme, which seems very babyface to do as well. I'm really not sure whether this team of Bobby Lashley and the Profits are heel or face, and they're not making it clear, because one minute you have the Profits attacking people, and then the next week you've got Bobby Lashley all smiles and them not being very heel-like. So it is very confusing as a viewer to see where this is going, and to be fair, I just want Bobby back on TV as a whole, instead of just coming out after the Profits. Like, I'd love to see him have a match at some point, because I don't think he's had a match properly since the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. At least I can't remember a match that he had anyway. And finally, in the main event, so throughout the night we had all the video packages, people talking about Edge, because it was his 25th anniversary last night, or I'm recording this on Saturday, so last night. And yeah, it seemed like a really good moment for Edge. It was a decent match. I'm not going to lie to you, you can see why Edge is starting to slow down and starting to bring his career to an end. I know there was a lot of rumours talking about him retiring after this match. I know that his WWE contract is up as of now, and whether or not this is his retirement match, I don't think so. I think they make a bigger deal of it if it was his retirement match. If anything, they'll probably save it for WrestleMania, have like a Shawn Michaels or Ric Flair moment for him, because he definitely deserves that. He's had that kind of career. But yeah, he said it was going to be his last match in Toronto, which is fair enough because it's his hometown, but I can't see it being his last match overall. But yeah, the match itself was decent. It was good for what it was, but you could definitely see why. Like, you can see Edge was a lot slower. You could see he was beat up a lot more. He blew up a bit easier. And yeah, Sheamus is just Sheamus, man. He's brilliant, like, all the time. And I'm hoping that he does start getting pushed a lot more into the higher main event scene at least. I know this is a pretty main event match for him, and it was the main event of SmackDown. But yeah, I'm hoping to see Sheamus progress up the card a bit more now. And yeah, if it won't surprise me, we didn't see Edge again until maybe the Royal Rumble. But yeah, it was a nice little way to finish off SmackDown. But the match itself was alright, decent. You know how it is. AEW Rampage kicked off with what probably should have been the main event. Rey Fenix defeated Commander in an absolutely brilliant match. As of this point, I think I'm recording. I don't think I am. I'm definitely recording this on Saturday, so I'll record my portion for Collision tomorrow. But as of this point, it was match of the week by an absolute country mile. You know, some highlights for me were the absolutely brutal chops from Fenix to Commander. The moment where Commander did a load of flips, and then Fenix did like a roly-poly into a cutter. It was just beautiful to see. Like, holy crap, that was bloody amazing. And Commander did a lovely Canadian Destroyer on Fenix. But yeah, this match was just brilliant transitional wrestling. The whole thing was highlights after highlight after highlight. And yeah, I don't have the appreciation for the Lucha Libre style. I just, like, whenever I see the Lucha Bros, I'm like, this is just so good. How am I not into this more? How have I not looked into this more? Because they are fantastic, whether they're a team or whether they're singles. And yeah, it's just a really, you know, Rampage is actually a really good place to have like that Lucha style of wrestling just on a one-off show during the week. And yeah, it's a really enjoyable match, absolute quality throughout. And honestly, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It was brilliant. Following that, we had Aussie Open defending the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships against Ethan Page and Brother Zay. This was a pretty average tag team match. I never expected Page and Zay to pick up the win and become the new tag champs, especially as Aussie Open have such a big match at All In. But yeah, that, in a way, that kind of took away from the match, which is why it was only average, because, you know, you kind of knew the result before it even started. But for me, like, Ethan Page is so underutilized in AEW. Like, he is so good. I remember him as being part of the North in Impact, and he was really good there. And they just aren't using him the same. His tag team with Scorpio Sky was actually probably the highlight of him in AEW so far. And if they could do something else again, or maybe even have the two of them feud, I think would be really, really good. I think, like, I mean, Scorpio Sky is someone who should definitely be on TV a lot more than he currently is. I don't know whether he's hurt or not. I think there was reports saying that he was hurt, but if he's not, he should definitely be on TV. But yeah, I said Aussie Open with a good win. They cut a short promo on Adam Cole and MJF. And yeah, I said pretty average part of the show for this, in my opinion. Following that, we had Sammy Guevara defeat John Cruz. This was more or less a squash match to get Sammy on TV. I think there was just a simple way to promote Jericho versus Ospreay and to get Sammy on television. So I really got not much else to say about this one. And then in the main event, we had Hikaru Shida and Sky Blue defeat the Outcasts of Ruby Soho and Toni Storm. I thought this was a decent tag match. All four involved are really, really good wrestlers, so I expected a quality match. The Outcasts controlled the match for the most part, with Sky Blue kind of been separated off from Shida, but then Shida got the hot tag, and it kind of fell apart for the Outcasts from that point. For me, like, I'm glad that Sky Blue is getting such a big push at the minute. She needs to be on TV every week at this point, whether it be Collision, Rampage or Dynamite. But what let me down with this match anyway, or this match itself, sorry I'm stumbling over my words a lot, is Ruby Soho taking the pin. Like, I thought the Outcast should have won this match anyway, just to build some momentum towards All In, because, you know, as they say, they're a unit. If one of them are winning or two of them are winning, they're all winning. So it would definitely have helped them towards All In for Saraya and Toni. But Ruby always seems to be taking the fall in tag team matches. She's always losing the big matches. You know, she was the ideal winner for the Owen Hart tournament, and they didn't do that either. And it was just, I don't know, it's really disappointing to see that Ruby Soho still isn't getting booked the way that she should, even though she moaned about it, or not moan's the wrong way to put it. She just mentioned how she was underutilized by WWE, and then she was hoping for a new lease on life in AEW, and it just needs to be going down the same. Or it's almost, you know what, it's almost worse than in WWE, because at least in WWE she was a leader of the group. She's probably one of the, I would say Saraya is the leader of the Outcasts, though they'd probably say they're all even, but Saraya is the leader. So Ruby is one of the Outcasts, not leading, and then she's not winning matches, whereas at least in WWE she was the leader of the Riot Squad, but also losing matches. I don't know, I don't know what they can even do with Ruby Soho. Like, they need to build her back up again. Like, she's definitely not seen on the same level as Saraya I don't know at this point. And Toni Storm, they're just not all on the same level, which is a shame because they should be. And it's, you know, there was so much big talk about Tony Khan pushing Ruby to the moon, and he's done that, and then just as you feel like she's going to get her moment, he takes it away and the booking goes to somebody else. We saw it with Jade Cargill in the TBS title tournament, we saw the Owen Hart tournament. Well, no, we saw in both Owen Hart tournaments with Britt and Willow. So it's a massive shame, and I feel like Ruby Soho needs a lot more like building up over the next few months, because she needs to be seen on the same level as Saraya and Toni Storm. But yeah, I think the Rampage overall was really good. I'd even gone to say it was maybe even better than Dynamite, which is crazy to say, but I feel like the match quality on Rampage was better than Dynamite. But there was a lot of like big impact stuff towards All In on Dynamite, so I'd probably say they were pretty even actually, now I'm thinking about it. But yeah, again, another enjoyable Rampage, which in the last 2 weeks has been like a really good, like a bit of fresh air for Rampage. It makes me want to watch it again. There was a while where I wasn't watching it and I was just keeping up with the YouTube highlights. But yeah, these last 2 weeks just watching it in full have actually been really good, and I've been enjoying it more. So hopefully they carry on with that as the weeks go on. Last but not least, we had Collision, where the show started off with Samoa Joe making his entrance. He was going to face Golden Vampire when Golden Vampire suddenly attacked him, hit him with a knee in the corner and hit him with a GTS, where it was revealed to be CM Punk. Punk then accepted Samoa Joe's challenge for All In, and yeah, I'm excited for the match at All In. I've been waiting for a long time to see CM Punk wrestle live, though it's a massive conflict of interest, easy for me to say. Because I want to boo him, because he is just a massive heel in real life, especially when you hear about all the backstage politicking he's been doing and banning people from Collision and having fights with people at Collision. It's, you know, it's not great to hear, because you don't want that kind of stuff in wrestling. You know, you kind of want everyone to get on, but at the same time he's like one of my favourite wrestlers of all time, and you know, I want to single personality, I want to cheer him, but you know, it's a massive shame that it's kind of got to this with Punk, but I'll probably end up booing him, and I can imagine Wembley's probably going to boo him as well. It wouldn't surprise me if everyone cheered him, but I think overall it's going to be a really negative response for Punk, as the British fans are so hostile when it comes to the kind of person Punk is behind the scenes. Yeah, but moving on from that, we had Jay White defeat Dalton Castle. I thought this was a good match to start off Collision. Though it was a bit of an average match, it was quite evenly fought, which I was surprised about. I thought Jay White made control for the most part, but yeah, it was very even. I'm a fan of both. I did like the fact that Juice Robinson just suddenly started chasing away the boys. They like the boys were trying to be intimidating like birds, I guess, but then Juice just went mental at them and started chasing them around the ring. I thought that was quite funny. But I did think this was a very good showing for Dalton Castle, who mainly wrestles on Ring of Honor shows. You know, to have him on Collision, and I know he's had a few showings on Dynamite as well. I think having him as part of the AEW roster would be quite good. And yeah, I think for me it was positives all around. It just wasn't like as good a match as I thought it was going to be, unfortunately. But after the match, Bullet Club Gold cut a promo on the Elite, just due to the Kenny Omega match at All In, and the fact that Juice and the Guns are taking on the Elite on Dynamite next week. And then as a warm-up, Juice and the Guns challenge anybody in the back to a 6-man tag, of which the Iron Savages answer that challenge, which I'm happy to see. That's the second time in 2 weeks they've had matches on Collision or Dynamite, or Rampage. Either way, they've been on AEW TV more frequently recently, which is quite good. This was very one-sided towards Bullet Club Gold, and it didn't feel like a squash match, but it was a decent way to get Bullet Club Gold some momentum towards Dynamite and All In. But yeah, I said it was a decent, and it was a decent impromptu match. Following that, we had like a interview with Ricky Starks, and then there was like a video package where it seems like he's going to be creating a new faction called Absolute, which is an interesting way to go with Ricky, especially as there's so many factions around AEW, and it's been something that people either really dislike or really like about AEW. since probably its inception. And then it was revealed that Big Bill is going to be the first member of this. He defeats Derek Dale in an absolute squash match. But it's a really good get for starters to get Big Bill on board. Following that, we had Willow Nightingale defeat Diamante. I was surprised to see Diamante actually controlled the match for the most part. I know that she's like the heel, but just the size difference and that, it was nice to see kind of a heel that's smaller against a face that's bigger. It was an interesting dynamic that way. But overall, I'm glad that Collision's giving more women a chance, and women that we don't see on TV very often. I know I gave a lot of praise to the tag match last week, which this is kind of carrying on the feud from that, and it's a feud I'm actually finding myself enjoying between Martinez and Diamante and Willow and Chris Statlander. And yeah, the match itself was really good. There was a brutal pounce done by Willow Nightingale to Diamante on the floor, which then set up for the finish. After the finish, Mercedes Martinez and Diamante attacked Willow, and Chris Statlander made the save. I was kind of hoping that we were going to get an announcement for Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Martinez at All In, but I'm not sure whether Statlander defending the title will actually make it onto All In. Though there's still enough time and enough space on the card to be able to announce the match. I just got a feeling he's going to end up on All Out. Following that, we had Powerhouse Hobbs defeat Kevin Koo. Another absolute squash match. Like, having two squash matches, I'm not sure how I feel about that on the card. Just when I know there wasn't much time, when it got to that point, especially with the main event. And yeah, Miro addressed Hobbs, and they have confirmed their match for All Out, which I think is going to be a really hard-hitting matchup. But I personally want Miro to go over, whereas it actually makes sense for Hobbs to go over in his progression in the storyline, just because of how much of a step back he's made in his losing the TNT title. But then Miro also probably would like to get built up again. I think that him being the next TNT champion, or at least one of the next TNT champions, will be really good. And finally, in the main event, we had Darby Allin defeat Christian Cage. This one I wasn't very sure about going in, just because I couldn't see these two having good chemistry going in. But it was actually a really good match, and the kind of final transitions of the match were really good. With Christian kind of taking out Darby really brutally, but then Darby kind of turning it around suddenly and kind of almost stealing a win, which is unusual for a babyface. But yeah, there was a brutal head clash after some lovely transitions, which worried me because I thought it was like an accident, or like a real life head clash. But I don't think if that had happened, there'd been blood everywhere and stuff. So luckily they were both okay. But yeah, I think I do wonder how Darby Allin kicked out of the powerbomb from the top rope into the spear. I thought that was honestly it. They properly had me at that point, and me being a good old Marky Mark. But yeah, Darby Allin managed to steal the victory. After the match, Luchasaurus takes out Darby Allin, and Tony Schiavone was going to interview Darby, but then because Luchasaurus took him out, they made Tony Schiavone do the pin for Christian Cage getting the win, and he announced them the winners. I found that a bit weird, but he could have just done with a beatdown on that rate. I don't know why they did the whole pinning thing, but I think it's just another thing to add to the feud towards All Out. I do find it interesting that Darby Allin is in two feuds, going into two separate pay-per-views in 2 separate weeks. He's the only person doing this on the card, which shows the resiliency of Darby Allin. Especially he seems to have a feud on Collision with Christian and Luchasaurus, and a feud on Dynamite with AR Fox and Swerve Strickland, which is good and interesting. It just means Darby Allin is wrecking his body twice a week to fill 2 feuds, which is interesting, and it will catch up with him eventually, unfortunately. But I think the match with Luchasaurus is going to be an interesting one, just because David and Goliath kind of type to the match, whereas the coffin match at All In I think is going to be really good. And I never thought I'd be able to watch Sting live, so that's something I'm very much looking forward to. But yeah, I think overall Collision was actually a decent show. Could have done without the squash matches, but it makes sense in storyline if they pay off properly, especially with Hobbs and Miro, where if they have a really cracking match at All Out, it'll be well worth the wait. And yes, I'm looking forward to seeing CM Punk. I think Bullet Club Gold, like on Dynamite, controlled the show mostly, or for the most part anyway. They took up the most time. So I made that sound negative, but they did have most airtime on the show, which is good in a way. I was hoping that Bullet Club Gold were going to get a push at some point. And yeah, I think just positives all around for Collision. And as I said, yeah, decent show overall. I don't want to ramble on too much, though I know I already am. So yeah, decent Collision and a good way to end off the week. So those were my thoughts and opinions on this week in WWE and AEW. Do comment down below what your highlights of the week were from each show, or just from WWE and AEW in general, and what matches you're looking forward to on All In, or any matches that you think could be added to the All In card. I'm very interested to see what people are saying. I know that there's been rumours of Jeff Jarrett versus Grado. I think that'd be a match that that'd be a really fun match to watch, and it'd be really fun to see everyone singing like a prayer if they can get it through Wembley. And yeah, the schedule, I realised, for upcoming videos is actually quite busy, and we're uploading quite frequently over the next probably 2 weeks, as this goes out today, and then on Thursday I'll be doing predictions for All In, and then on Friday I'm going down to London for All In. So then there won't be a video till Monday for the review of the week. Then Tuesday will be the review of All In. And then on Wednesday there'll be predictions for Payback. Thursday there'll be predictions for All Out. And then there'll be the Week in Wrestling review on the Sunday. And then there'll be the review for Payback on Monday, and then the review for All In on either Monday again or Tuesday. So a lot of videos coming all at once over the next few weeks, just because of how busy it's going to be because of All In one weekend and then Payback and All Out the next weekend. But hopefully you all enjoy the content, and say any feedback at all, please put it in the comments. Anything I can change or do better, please let me know. But for now, I'll ask you to subscribe and like and share and all that good stuff. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. See you later.